What do you think our expectations are now of like managers and leaders? Do you think they've changed?
I suppose maybe the emphasis on the way they behave has changed rather than the expectations. By that, I think about communicating has always been important, but now communicating a lot is important, and involving the teams in decisions, particularly in, well, I've done a lot of work in the SME, 50 million to 500 million turnover in the last couple of years. And the leaders, or in most of the cases, owners of the businesses that have been successful in at least taking people on the journey, not necessarily the business has been successful, but taking people on the journey, is they've communicated all the way along. They've said, look, this is where we're at, this is what we think is going to happen, and we'll keep you informed. One business in particular, which is headquartered in Sydney, but it's nationwide, that I've done some work with, they've just continually communicate through their structure, but also from not just the CEO, but the owner. This is where there's a difference, the CEO and the owner. And they're just making sure that they're on top of things and letting people know what's happening.
Yeah.
And I think that's really been the change in terms of that. That's probably, it's not as skeptical as it used to be when you used to have a town hall and a big organization, and it was just a general broadcast. Now it is more intimate from that perspective, because it has been personalized, because everyone knows that people are, they're doing it hard relative to where it was 2 years ago. I think it's changed for good. It's where does it balance? It's probably just accelerated what was coming.
Yeah.
Using technology to, in theory, get that work-life balance right. Certainly, the people that run businesses that I know, they would rather be engaged in the business, and a lot of them get their energy from that social interaction. Is wrong, but actually being with people.
Yeah.
You can bounce ideas around, you get the informality of it all, rather than, all right, now we have a structured call. And we've got 1 hour and we've got to go through all these topics. So you miss the banter or whatever comes around. And I think and that's cultural too.
But you work with a lot of global organizations. I mean, surely a lot of those, I know we did travel, but surely a lot of the way a lot of global businesses have communicated in the past has been something like this, or particularly in the last 5 years with all this technology has been available, that you have had to, you can't be on a plane all the time.
Yeah, true. I'm doing a fundraise out of the US at the moment for an Australian company for a few $100 million. The fundraise is actually acquiring businesses in the United States, and the company and the senior team that are raising this money and doing the acquisitions have not physically met or seen these operations, but they're moving forward, because they don't want to wait 2 years.
That's right.
Or whatever it is. So that to me is strange. You've got investors coming in, you've got Zoom calls with investors, and they're asking all the right questions. The process goes along. But look, when I was the CFO at Myer, I remember we had 2 investor roadshows every year, and both times we went international. And Bernie and I did that because 40% of the register was international. So you had some of your biggest investors were over there. They would only invest once they'd actually met you. Right? So physically, they wanted to see you.
Yeah.
They could see all the numbers, they could do all that, but they actually wanted to look at the whites of your eyes. Yeah. Flexibility. I've got one client who's in I'll call it the luxury goods sector. People invariably will not buy online. They actually want to go in, touch the product, look at the product, say, yep, that's what I want. Then they'll buy the product and go. Or they'll leave a deposit and order the product. Given the fact that Melbourne and Sydney are the prime locations for that, and all of a sudden those two locations are not trading. How do you get around it when you've got a group of customers that aren't used to buying online and really won't buy online to an extent?
Mm.
So they used a lot of technology. They actually customers who are repeat customers, and there's a lot of it in this particular business. They looked at the customer base, said, all right, we've got these repeat customers, let's target them because they know what they're likely to get. And so, but it was still like it was a Zoom call. They call it a consultation. It was a Zoom consultation. And much to my surprise, the volume not only didn't it not go backwards, it went up.
Wow, that's a great story.
They focused on their CRM really early in the piece.
Yeah.
And invested in it where the temptation was to, all right, well, let's just slow things down here and just preserve cash, which did happen to some extent, but hey, let's invest because this also can be a new way of looking at things going forward. And they moved their business model, that even shipments of product that come in from overseas, because you couldn't actually receive them in Melbourne or Sydney. So, well, let's pick another state, get the product diverted to another state, then bring it back.
Yeah.
And go direct to the customers from another state. Now, is it more expensive? Yeah, it is. But does the customer get what they want? Absolutely. Keeping them informed as to what's happening and getting ideas from, what do you think about this? And everyone's got behind it. That doesn't necessarily, the ideas have not necessarily, the good ideas have not necessarily come from the senior team. They've actually come from everyone else. So I think that sets them up for the long term.
Well, Mark, thank you for your time this morning. It's been
Pleasure.
great talking to you.